Chapter 249. Gordon's tears flowed down his cheeks as he talked about Barbara. At first, he was still talking intermittently, but in the end, he could not continue. He took off his glasses and just kept crying. Thea and Felicity looked at each other. Their combined age was not as old as Gordon. As the younger generation, it was not appropriate for them to see the old man so sad, but they did not know how to comfort him. Fortunately, Gordon's mental fortitude was not bad. He forced himself to tell them the reason for his visit. The clown injured her spine. Bruce determined that she can no longer stand up. I hate myself for being so weak. Gordon waved his fists as he spoke. Fortunately, Thea had just taken over as the CEO, so there were not many things in the room. Otherwise, he would have punched something to vent his anger. Miss Thea, you're also a high-tech company. Bruce can't do anything, but I want to ask if you have any methods to help Barbara stand up again? Gordon looked at Thea expectantly, but he was afraid that she would say that she could not wait and completely destroy his hope. What a pitiful parent's heart. It would be a huge problem for others, but for Thea, she could even repair Captain Frigid's genetic chain, and only her spine was injured. With her magic skills, this injury was only a minor injury. However, considering Bruce's hostility towards the supernatural, there was a possibility that she might do something bad with good intentions. However, Thea could not be so heartless as to push the sobbing Gordon out to save her own skin. Sir, I've come up with 3 ideas. I'll tell you and you can think about it. In order to appear mature, Thea usually wore a pair of flat glasses. At this moment, she took off her glasses and rubbed her eyes. F***CK. 3 ideas. Gordon's heart almost jumped out of his chest. You came up with 3 ideas in less than a minute? He was in a daze for a moment, from great sadness to great joy. The first method is to connect the nerves together with mechanical assistance. I didn't see Barbara's wound, but the Quinn Corporation has the technology. We can make a metal belt that bypasses the wound and connects the upper and lower nerves. She can walk on her own, but I'm afraid she won't be able to fight anymore, Thea said after seeing that the old director had calmed down a little. Chief Gordon thought about it seriously. Being able to walk was much better than sitting in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. However, he was still worried that Thea might not be able to accept it. He nodded solemnly, indicating that he would consider it, and waited for Thea to continue. The second method is to use nanomachines. These nanomachines will reside in the body and connect to the nerves through computer control. After a period of recovery and training, they can return to their original level. However, the electromagnetic pulse bomb will cause fatal damage to the nanomachines. You have to be careful. Before Gordon Sr. could answer, Felicity whispered, "Do we have the technology?" Thea nodded blankly. She thought to herself, what do we have? This is the technology of the future Atom Man. In the original timeline, Felicity was also paralyzed due to a gunshot wound. Her symptoms were similar to Barbara's, and she recovered with the help of the Atom Man's nanomachines. Although the Atom Man was a joker, the technology he gave was really high-end. With Thea's current knowledge structure, she couldn't understand a lot of it. To fully understand it, she would need at least a PhD. However, the nanomachines were very basic, and it could enter the treatment stage with a little clinical experimentation. However, the technology that she thought was not worth mentioning was hope in Gordon Sr.'s eyes. This was a great idea. The old director could also accept the electromagnetic pulse bomb. No matter how high-end Gotham was, no one would throw it out every day, right? This is not a problem at all. No matter how expensive it is, I can pay for it. Please help me. The old director finally had a smile on his face. He had indeed gained something by risking his reputation to come to Star City. However, he still wanted to hear Thea's final idea. What if it was better? Listening to it wouldn't take much time. You have another idea? Thea sighed and a ball of light appeared in her hand. She had explained her magic to Felicity a few days ago, and it could be considered as an annotation for the temple. She also used her magic to fly the girl up into the sky. Felicity vomited a lot and complained to Thea. Now that she exposed it in front of Gordon, it was also an early precaution. Unless she didn't use her magic for the rest of her life, she would be discovered sooner or later. Now that he was asking for her help, she could use it to make a good impression. The power of magic can restore her to normal, but the price is to accelerate the growth of the cells in her body, and her lifespan will be reduced by 5 to 10 years. In fact, she was talking nonsense. Although she didn't have as strong magic as on the Wave Rider, it was still easy to draw a simple restoration circle. In order to make it seem that it was not easy, she made the consequences extremely serious. Anyway, lifespan was something that couldn't be seen or touched, and no one knew how much it would cost. It had to be said that the director, who had been fighting on the front line all year round, was far more receptive to superpowers than Moira and the others. He didn't ask where the power came from and began to pace in the room, thinking. Thea didn't rush him either. In fact, it was basically a matter of a finger, and she was very confident in this matter. The magic circle was for outsiders to see, and it was easier to make it mysterious and complicated so that she could ask for benefits. Originally, she was still thinking about where to find a spendthrift to be the vanguard of the temple demolition, but now the candidate had automatically jumped out. Gordon was very suitable in all aspects. He was popular and had a high social status, so it seemed to be reasonable that he converted to religion at an old age. Presumably, for the sake of his daughter, he would hesitate to demolish the Statue of Liberty, but for the sake of demolishing a temple in Turkey, the old man would have no psychological barriers at all. But now, she couldn't make it so clear as if she was negotiating a deal. As long as she showed a troubled expression, the old director would definitely understand the meaning behind it. Director Gordon was now deep in thought. It was really a case of one wave after another. His thoughts rolled over and over again, and he couldn't make up his mind for a while. Can I discuss it with Bruce? Also, I have to consider Barbara's opinion. The director found that every choice was not easy. When there was no other way, an idea would be a lifesaver, but now that there were so many options, it was a little difficult to choose. Of course. Can you connect to the Batcave? Thea asked her friend after answering the director's first question. Who am I? I'm a world-class hacker. Felicity was a little proud. She took the keyboard and started typing away. In less than 3 minutes, Bruce's figure appeared on the LCD screen in Thea's CEO's office. Batman, who had always been elusive, was shocked when he suddenly saw the screen light up. From where Thea and the others were standing, he was hitting a sandbag alone. Chapter 250. Although there was a hint of panic in the corner of Batman's eyes, he quickly regained his composure. He glanced at the 3 people who appeared on the screen and greeted them calmly. Miss Thea, Miss Felicity, why did you hack my system? The 2 ladies were a little unhappy that they did not see him panic. They moved aside and gave Gordon some space to talk. Mechanical assistance. Nanotechnology, magic? Batman knew that Thea had some tricks up her sleeves. Her magic did not exceed his expectations. However, he was still hesitant when faced with 3 choices. When it came to the health of his loved ones, he would not use his own values to judge it. If Alfred was fatally injured, he would do everything in his power to save him. Although Barbara was not as important as the old butler in his heart, she was still his family. Moreover, Barbara was dragged into this because of his fight with the Joker. Batman felt guilty for causing Gordon Sr. to suffer such a serious injury at such an old age. However, in his mind, the nanotechnology solution was the best. His thoughts were similar to Gordon Sr. How could there be so many electromagnetic pulse bombs? If all the gangs had electromagnetic pulse bombs, half of his technological equipment would be crippled. He would not be able to survive. How about this? Let's ask Barbara for her opinion. I'll go find her now. Batman cut off the signal. His computer skills were not bad. Thea and the others did not hide anything from him. Soon, they found the Batcave where Thea and the others were connected to at the Quinn Group's headquarters in Star City. However, Batman could not find any loopholes in his system even after checking for a long time. The system that he worked so hard to create was easily broken by Felicity. This made him a little speechless. I'll take a closer look when I come back, he said as he went out to pick up Barbara. Why did he cut off the signal? Can't he pay for the electricity in the Batcave? Thea and Felicity were puzzled. He's just like that. You'll get used to it. Gordon knew Batman very well. He explained awkwardly. The few of them could only wait. Thea arranged for her assistant to transfer a helicopter. If there were no accidents, they would have to make a trip to Gotham. Her spellbook did not have any teleportation magic. In the future, Steelbones could teleport because of the Mother Box technology in Apocalypse. Spatial knowledge was profound and complicated, and it was not something she could get involved in now. In less than half an hour, the monitor in the room lit up again. Needless to say, it was Batman who hacked in. Thea mouthed to Felicity, which meant to tell her to quickly upgrade the corporation's system. What did this mean? This meant working overtime. Felicity was full of resentment at Batman on the screen. Barbara, who appeared before the two girls, was extremely haggard. The beautiful red-haired girl from before seemed to have completely withered, and she looked listless. When she saw Thea and Anna on the screen, she hurriedly turned her head away, not wanting them to see her in such a sorry state. Why did he still look like this? They looked at Batman in confusion. I didn't tell her your methods. She needs to make her own judgment. Sure enough, when she heard the method, Barbara's eyes lit up instantly. She bit her lip and looked at the people on the screen in disbelief. Thea was now playing the role of a doctor. She could only explain her methods again, not leaving out the pros and cons, and let Barbara choose for herself. Ah! Babla covered her mouth in agitation. She was already at the lowest point of her life, and she would try her best to hold on to any hope. She would accept any one of the three solutions, let alone any of them. However, at the crossroads of life, everyone would be confused by their choices. She did not know which method to choose at that moment. She looked at Gordon and Batman as if asking for help. It's up to you. We support your decision. The two important people had expressed their opinions. You can choose whichever one you want. I choose the magic method. Barbara glanced at Batman from the corner of her eye. She had always been clear about her teacher's point of view, but she just wanted to be as good as new. What was the point of adding a robot into her body? As for losing a few years of her life, she was just 20 years old. She really did not care. She did not think that she could live to the day she died of old age. Batman nodded and did not express his opinion. He said to the screen, "Then I'll have to trouble Miss Thea to come over. I'll prepare the materials you need." "Okay, we'll talk about the details when we meet," Thea said and hung up. She could not help but sigh. A bullet had turned a young girl into this. This was the helplessness of ordinary people. Although Thea's body was far inferior to Diana's, she was already immune to handgun bullets after being modified by divine power. Rifle bullets could only scratch her skin. If it was not a powerful attack that could kill her in one shot, she could use her divine power to recover. She instructed Thea to look after the house and upgrade the corporation system. In the future, as Thea's movements became bigger and bigger, she would attract more and more attention. She did not want her house to be visited by hackers every few days. The journey to Gotham was smooth. The battle half a year ago had left the Gotham Mafia in a state of shock. Under Gordon's guidance, Thea landed the plane by the shore, and the two walked into the famous Batcave. The last time Thea came here, the Batcave was destroyed by Bane. She did not know if this place was new or old. The eerie and terrifying environment was very Gotham. It was comparable to a haunted house. With the help of the Eye of Horus, Thea roughly scanned the area and found 3 secret rooms. She wondered how much of the famous Project Babel was written. "Miss Thea, remember my words. Don't mention Dick in front of Barbara." Thea, who was wearing a pair of high heels, felt uncomfortable walking in the deep and shallow cave. The old director seemed to remember something and quickly reminded her. "I know, don't worry." On the way, Thea had a rough understanding of the situation after they parted ways. The first Robin, Dick Grantham, had left Batman and walked on his own path. He changed his name to Nightwing and broke up with Barbara peacefully. He was no longer in Gotham. Batman could only look for a new assistant. He chose the burly Jason Todd to be the second Robin. After Barbara suffered a heavy emotional blow and suffered a heavy physical injury, Batman had to find another place to train Jason Todd. He was afraid that she would think badly of him. Yo, Uncle Bruce, you look good. When Thea entered the house, she saw Batman writing code with a gloomy face. Of course, it was not because he wanted to become a coder. It was all because of Felicity. Bruce nodded. I'll take you to see Barbara first. I just injected her with a tranquilizer. Her mind is very unstable. He immediately led the two of them to the inner room.